It's okay.
All right, guys, I have a question I've been pondering.
Yeah, I like this.
It's been happening over the last week. Actually, from our live podcast discussions, we've had the term identity show up a few times in the last couple of weeks. And I've been thinking more about identity as this anchor that your behaviors are anchored to your identity. Meaning, like, you will do whatever it takes to maintain your identity. Is something that we talked about in previous podcasts. And, you know, that is a very powerful actor in determining what your behaviors are, what your habits are. So I started to ask the question, well, like, what is my identity? And I started to get confused because I'd imagine that, like, maybe at least 30%, maybe 50% of my identity is subconscious, right? So, like, I was trying to investigate what is the process that I can go through to figure out what is my identity? What is the thing, you know, that I will not go away from? And also, can I change my identity? Can I maybe, like, reorient it in a way that, like, serves me a little better? You know, sometimes during some of these Tony Robbins events, we've gone through processes to try to identify who you are and where your behaviors lie. And that's been interesting. So I don't know. I was trying to figure out what questions could I ask myself.
There's too many prompts, right? There's like too many ways to like take this conversation.
Yeah. But I just want to know, like, how do I take an inventory of what my identity is? Because I could tell you what I think it is, but there's probably some limiting beliefs that are, like, underlying the identity.
Your sort of origin question to this is, what is it?
Nick,
and how do I identify
who are
it?
you?
Right.
Who are you?
Because that is the thing that...
Are you asking that from a perspective of for your own self-knowledge, or for the ability to be able to show the world and have a clear identity?
No, I don't care about what the world thinks or anything.
This is like a self-knowledge question.
Because, like, if we assume, if we're under the assumption that the identity is the thing that you will protect the most and that you will defend. So if your identity is like, I'm fit, there's always, like, this like line that you will not cross. You will always, like, maybe you'll hit the upper bounds, but you'll self-correct.
Yeah.
That's an example of, like, your identity anchoring you. And so I want to know, like, what's my identity? What am I anchoring to? And are there things that I don't even know are my part of this subconscious identity? And maybe some of them are self-limiting, right? Like,
Wait, can I play a game with you?
yeah, please.
Okay. I want you to describe who you are in one word.
Oh, fuck.
Oh my God.
In one word?
First thing that comes to mind.
Weird.
Uh,
No, weird question. Not weird. Nick is weird.
I took it the same. I know you mean that's a tough question.
I
Yeah.
would like
question.
to, so I would like to think the word adventurous is what comes to mind, but not in,
Okay.
like, physical terms.
That's,
like
that's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
like
Podcast
that.
over, I guess.
Okay. done.
No, that, like, Steven, what did you think? Like, why did you think that exercise was so valuable?
I was just trying to narrow in on, like, what he's trying to do, but, like, do it.
Well, first of
There
all,
you
do
go.
you
It's
understand
sort of
what I'm
like-
trying to accomplish here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that this thing is an anchor, and I think
It's
we
a
should all
noble
know
aim.
what
But
the
I
inventory
first want to
is.
know, like, what you're anchoring to, and then kind of, like,
See,
why.
that's the question I don't know. I mean, I had a whole conversation with the machine about it, and
Those are my favorite conversations.
the machine was a little
The
confused at
machine
first.
knows so much more about me than anyone else at this point already.
Yeah,
I'm
just-
like in my own Her movie
No, I know you.
at this point.
So you open ChatGPT and you're just
Think.
like, who am I?
Well, I just said, like, what questions or process can I go through that would, like, tell me what I perceive as my identity, assuming that this identity is, like, a powerful behavior structuring
I
concept.
just think it's, like, very funny that you don't know your identity. You're going through this, like, huge, drawn out analytical process. Be like, what is my identity?
Can I even ask? Can I even like start before this? Like,
Yeah.
what even makes up an identity? Because, like, and for me, just so you guys know, this is the thing that I spend more time thinking about than anything else on life on
Let's
Earth.
go.
and the reason why is because I think that this thing, this like idea about who you are, has a greater impact than anything else on Earth that you could spend your time on.
I like this.
So when I like when you prompted this, I was so excited because like what I'm trying to get to is like, before you even answer, I'm adventurous. Like, what even makes up the components that tells you you're adventurous?
All right, so here's the trick about it, is that it's not a stat sheet, right? Like if you look at a player, you see their age, their height, their weight, their stats by year. That's not what makes up an identity in my mind. It's a story. And a story can like it's not like a stat sheet. It's literally a story that you probably tell yourself without not even knowing. I'm this person who
story is
overcame
made
this
up
struggle, who like does this now. I'm a son, I'm a father, I'm a
But
husband.
that story is not just a set of facts. It's made up by a set of beliefs.
Yeah.
So when you say to me, like, who am I? The immediate thing that came to my mind is just like, what are the set of beliefs?
I mean, I could,
all.
I could
Like,
probably
that create the
explicitly tell you
foundation of
30% of them, but I'd imagine that like
You're concerned, or you're wondering how many subconscious beliefs you have that are driving and creating your identity. That's
Yes.
a very interesting question. That's a very
So
important
Discussion
question.
But
is so meta.
But are you more interested in determining what percent are subconscious versus conscious, or are you more interested in determining like what your identity is?
I want to know what those subconscious ones are, just so I can like take an inventory and be like, or are these serving me? Are these good beliefs? Is this a good story about who I am? And then maybe try to figure out how to change it from there.
Can I ask another question about the subconscious beliefs?
Yeah.
Like, where do you like? What do you even mean by that?
Okay, so let me give an example that's not mine, but like several people I know have gone through this, right? So let's say early on in your childhood, you were bullied, right? And you just had this happen to you, and then it went away. You moved away, but through that period, you've come up with this thing. It's like me against everyone else. Like I have to either prove them, and I have to like confront everything that could potentially be against me with strength and power and anger, because like this is, you know, I am someone who's been bullied, could be part of your identity, and that could be empowering or disempowering, right? Like some people could find it empowering, but most times it could not be. And you may not know that. You go through your whole life not knowing that's part of your identity story. And so that's an example to me of one that's
Well, do you think that
subconscious.
like that probably began in the subconscious, but then do you think that person becomes conscious of that? And because like I don't think that this conscious subconscious thing matters that much. It's
It
like
does.
it's your identity or not.
It does.
No,
In fact, I would say that if you guys recall my greatest quote of all time, it was, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. It is that important to me for a person to understand the aspects of themselves that they have not shined enough of a light on to understand why they became who they are, until the moment that they understand that unconscious aspect of themselves, they will show up, perform certain actions, react to people in a certain way, do certain things, go and become depressed because something happened that is reminiscent of this thing that happened in childhood, without realizing any of it and what's going on, and go into these crazy complexes. And it's all stemming from things that they have yet to shine a light on, that unconscious part of themselves. Until they make that aspect of themselves conscious, it will truly rule your life, sabotage your relationships, sabotage your mental health, sabotage your identity, sabotage your ability to attain the things you want in life. That is the thing that holds people back from achieving the things that they want.
Okay,
it's really that.
That was very helpful. I love that, and I agree. So back to Nick's question is like, how much of that within us four do you think is subconscious versus conscious? Because I feel like we're pretty
That's hard to
conscious
tell.
guys. Like I feel like we're pretty like self-aware guys. So like we've
attempting to be, right?
we've moved a lot of our subconscious into consciousness. I would assume larger than the mean is what I would presume.
So is it like an iceberg situation where 10% of it is known and like 90% of it is unknown?
Yeah. I mean, like, if you put, I don't know, you put Jesus at the top of the most like conscious person who conquered all of his, human subconscious, traumas and traits, and then you have a spectrum that exists all the way down to the person that's existing in hell and is just completely just destroyed and living in hell and everything that and they're on the brink of suicide. Like, that's the spectrum. And so where are we at? On a lifelong journey of making the unconscious conscious. I think that no one will ever make everything conscious, but I think the question is really, really interesting and really, really powerful. Like, back to your original, question, Nick, I think it's a really interesting and important question, because that identity ultimately makes up like all of your behaviors, all of your actions, how you interact with people and your friends, how you interact with your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Like, everything is encompassed by that like set of beliefs of who you are. And you asked the question early on, how fixed is it? I think it's super malleable. It's so much more malleable than so many other things in life. It's one of the only things we control.
Yeah.
I could wake up tomorrow and decide I'm a different person. I could.
Can you?
I don't, but I could.
Ooh, I don't know if you can.
Can you?
I don't know if you
Can
can.
you just
I think
decide
it's,
to be
it's
a
a
different
practice, right? It's not necessarily something you just do and absolutely change. It's a practice that you try to
Think
work
about it.
on and
Tell
over
me.
time.
Yeah. Can you? I don't know. I think you can change who you are externally facing very rapidly. I think that there might be certain truths that you hold inside, like that you are near and dear to your heart and your identity, but you don't necessarily show as part of your identity. But I think your identity from an external a sort of like perspective can change
Well-
rapidly.
Man, they're like, I love this conversation. So I would like to do a podcast based on only this. I love this so much. Like, using your previous example of a guy who's bullied, like, and having that be some fulcrum of their identity. Like, I feel that he is using external factors to determine how he views himself, right? So, like, how the world perceives him is how he perceives himself.
Right.
So to Armand's point that like it's malleable, like I think how you can change one thing, how you like present yourself to the world, and the feedback you get really is the determinant of like what your identity becomes.
That hardens the concrete, right? Like,
Yeah,
once you
yeah.
get the feedback from the external world, it like cements it. So like, if you want to become, if you're just like an average athletic person, but you start doing things that an athletic person would do, eating better, working out, getting fitter, getting stronger, maybe looking better, and then all of a sudden you get this feedback like, wow, man, you're looking like lean, or like you look strong. Maybe that's the point at which it cements it, and you get that feedback, and it's like, wow, this is like locked in now as part of my identity. So I think there's this, like,
you
feedback
skipped over
loop.
a stage that I think is important, which is the words. So it's the thought, the words, the deeds. The deeds is the action. You do the thing, you receive the reinforcement from other people that reaffirms who you are. People underestimate the power of their own words, the things that they put out into the word. Eric, you're such a good example of this. You'll be like, you know what? I'm working out every day. I'm an everyday guy. I'm an everyday guy. Hey guys, what's up? It's been a week. It's been 3 weeks. I'm an everyday guy. I haven't seen you in 3 weeks. I'm an everyday guy. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing.
Getting a dot on the calendar every day.
Dot on the calendar. I saw him on Zoom yesterday in our meeting. First thing he said, dot on the calendar every day. That reinforcement of who he is and what he stands for and how he shows up in the world is creating his identity. What do you think about that?
And I agree, and I think it like the cement gets harder and harder as like time progresses, and then like tomorrow, if we like go hang out at the park and we're playing soccer, you and I have my shirt off, someone's gonna be like, "Hey, man, you're looking fitter than you used to be," and that cements it even further. They're like,
Sure.
"Oh, I'm an everyday guy." So it's like it's all about. I think you said it right. You start with thought. Thought goes to words. Words goes to actions. Action goes to
Reinforcement.
feedback. Yeah, the reinforcement.
And then, like, just to really focus in on like the power of this is like, imagine the identity as this cement block, and your behaviors are this like balloon that's tethered to it. So imagine a balloon with like 30 feet of length, and it sways, but it never gets too far away from the block, right? Your behaviors go back and forth with the wind, but it won't escape that block. So like, once you get that feedback, you're like, oh shit. Now people actually think, not only did I think I was like athletic and fitter, but now other people think it. So I have to stay with this identity because
Yeah.
that is as part of me. It's how I exist in this world, and now your behaviors are even more momentous towards your
So, Nick,
favor.
we've had a discussion about this before, the pros and cons of proclaiming a goal,
I like this topic a lot.
right? So, there are so many pros to proclaiming a goal, but there are so many cons as well.
Yeah.
Because the dopamine that you receive as a result of sharing your goal makes you feel as if you've already taken steps toward achieving that goal.
Yes.
You immediately are fueled by that, and then you don't have the sense or the need that you need to fulfill any action after that. You just basically fugazi a bunch of people. At the same time, though, on the other side of that, if you're looking for accountability and you proclaim to people that like you've made a decision to change your life in some way, hey man, I stopped smoking. I'm done. What do you mean? When did you decide? Today. I stopped smoking today. I'm not a smoker anymore. That's extremely, extremely powerful.
I think
You don't have to wait 100 days to tell people that. The moment you tell people that, you're upholding me to that standard of that identity that I am no longer a smoker.
We're also not asking you, do you want a cigarette? Because, well, you're not a smoker
Yeah,
anymore.
it does help that enablement as well. But I think there are instances where that is really important and other instances where it can totally work against you.
Yeah. Can I use some examples here?
Yeah.
Because this topic is so near and dear to me. I have two examples. Same guy.
Okay.
My little cousin doesn't listen to this podcast. Love this guy.
Fuck him.
He's younger. No, he's young. He always looked up to me. Okay, so
Fuck him anyway.
yeah, okay. Nice kid. Okay, so
Nice kid. Fuck him.
Jesus.
so this nice kid, he's like a decade younger than me. He's an only child. I'm an only child. He kind of like looked up to me as an older brother. At one point, he two stories. One where the identity worked for him and one against. Okay. Where it worked against him is kind of like Armand's example where he's like, Eric, I'm an athlete. I'm a tennis player now. I'll beat you. I'll beat Dave. I'm an athlete. And this kid was like a gamer, a band guy. Like this kid's not an athlete. And like when this kid just says with his mouth, like, this is who I am, I will beat you. I'm like, I know your identity now. You're full of shit is what your identity is. It's like working against you. Like, you know? So
Sure.
like you can't just be like saying things.
No, you got to have some self-awareness and some hubris.
Okay. So that's like why I think like words have to lead to actions. Otherwise, it's just doesn't work on identity. It works against you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's another one. I'm proud of myself. Like I'm rarely proud of myself, but on this one, most times I actually don't give a shit about what I'm doing. But on this one, I was like, good job, me. Okay, so little guy got arrested. Okay,
Oh.
he was shoplifting. He was shoplifting from CVS. He was pulling a vodka bottle from the shelves, and he got arrested, or he got caught, and then the police came.
Popov, 1899.
I mean, the kid was probably like 14 years old, 15, whatever. Like
Nice.
Johansson trait, you know, he start him young. But he got caught, and you know, he was like afterwards confiding in me. Like we only hang out on holidays, so it was like a Thanksgiving after. He's like, "Hey, I got a story to tell you. This is what happened." I was like, "Well, man, that's not good. Like, you don't want to be doing that." But I want to ask you a question, dude. I said, yesterday, for the first time ever in my life, I went spearfishing. Am I a spear fisherman? Or am I just a guy who went fishing one time? And I said, don't let being a thief become part of your identity. You're a guy
Ooh.
who did something one time. That's it.
Ooh, that's good.
I like that.
That's good.
Because they often talk about how I forget what the term is called, but like when people go into jail and then get released and then they end up back in jail. I forget that term, but
Recidivism.
recidivism. Yeah,
Recidivism.
and I think a lot of the issues like it becomes part of your identity that I am like a rule breaker. I hate authority.
It's that quick.
and it becomes part of
Just
it.
starts
And,
happening.
I'll tell another story, or not necessarily a story, but maybe an example where a friend got very rich, and
Is it you?
no, no, but he
Elitist.
and everyone was like, he's rich, and he was clearly rich. Like he had all the things that a rich person would have, and unfortunately, that was his sole identity. Was that I'm rich, I'm the rich guy, and I kind of like do what I want, I buy what I want, I do, and he kind of lived that life, and that's cool, but swings happen in net worth, things happen, and at some point he found himself multiple times in his life he found himself not rich, and when you solely identify with one thing, and that thing just changes throughout life, it can be existential. It's no longer this like one thing in your life that is like down. It is like almost like I want to commit suicide because I am no longer the thing that people identify me as. Like everyone views me as this, and I am no longer that thing. This is the only thing I identify with. And so while I don't know how much is subconscious, I don't even know the process to go through to figure out what are all those subconscious things. The one thing I do know about identity is it should be multifaceted. Like, okay, if you are a business owner and you're successful, cool. One of 7 things of your identity. You're also a son. You're also a brother. You're also like a husband. You're a best friend. You're a business partner. Like you're an athlete. Like you have to view your identity as this like multifaceted thing because life goes in its ups and downs. Like people pass away. Your net worth changes, like what you actually do every day changes. You have these different chapters we just talked about in your life that like, page forward and life will change. And if you have this one thing as your identity, it will feel like as if your whole entire life is crashing down. And so I don't know. That's the one thing as of today, that's the only part of this identity conversation that I feel like I actually know.
You have a good handle on that. You're a multifaceted individual.
You should try to be, right? Like you should broaden your scope of who you are. Like Steven is not just a great pickleball player. He's not just a great trader. He's also a good friend. He's a good boyfriend. Like that
Peptide
kind
user.
Yeah. So he's a Viore customer. Like, like whatever it is. Like,
Clark Kent.
You should kind of like be wider, broader in your identity because things are going to change.
Or just like identify with stuff that is like more permanent.
So what would that be though?
So some of the worst things to identify as are like wealthy, as like pretty. Like I think if you attach yourself to these things that are either definitely temporal or like possibly, like that's just like a recipe for disaster. But yeah, like if you identify as someone who is kind, that's you don't have to diversify. Like you can just be a kind person. Like nobody can ever take that from you. Like you
they
could just
figured
always
out
be
a lot of these things thousands of years ago, and they called them virtues. Like if you identify with virtues versus fleeting temporal things,
It's so good.
it's
so good,
completely
man.
different. Like having a virtue of honesty, having a virtue of patience. I'm a patient person. I'm a patient, respectful, kind, family-oriented person is very different than I'm a rich, athletic, young, handsome
young.
person. All of that is likely
setting yourself up
to
for
guaranteed to
Yeah.
be lost.
Oh man,
Interesting.
I remember when I was like, I don't know what age. I was under 20. I was 20, and we were speaking at an event with my buddy Johnny, and someone asked, "So introduce yourself." And I said my age, and we did the rest of the thing. And I remember immediately after the thing, he was like, "Don't ever do that again." And I was like, "What part of the presentation did you not like?" He's like, "Don't say your age, like it
Don't
comes
say
off
your what?
age."
Don't say your age.
Yeah, he's like, first of all, it comes off as douchey, and 2, like you're not that, like so just like focus on what you're here to do. And I was like, oh shit. But yeah, I agree. Like maybe
You got to anchor yourself towards more permanent things.
do you guys believe in brute forcing your identity? And I'm particularly thinking about affirmations, like writing it down and then like actually saying it out loud. Like it's actually on my desk. I used to have like a script that I would like read in my head or like out loud. Usually this used to be when I lived alone. That would be easier. But like,
Bro, I used to wake up every day and my alarm was a recording of myself telling myself who I am.
Ooh, I like that.
Wow.
Years of that.
That's
Years.
That is the most Armand thing you've ever said in the history of Armand.
I can
Hold on,
almost
was it-
memorize
And I love it.
my affirmation.
I
It was
love it so
long,
much.
but, like,
yeah, a series of affirmations of who I am and what I am doing and what I am creating in the world.
Can I ask you
on
about
repeat.
that? Was it who you currently are, or who your vision of yourself is?
It's both, right?
Both.
Because it's kind of your aspects of it now. You better be to be that in the future. But so much of it was aspirational, and guess what? I became that.
And it's funny
Like,
because
in
it
so
doesn't,
many ways.
it doesn't come on the deadline you set.
No,
Like,
it
it
never
never comes-
does.
it never
Because
comes
what
on
you
the
think
time
you
you
can
set.
achieve in 1 year is always wrong. You always overestimate what you can achieve in a year, and you always almost certainly underestimate what you can achieve in a decade.
But I
Guaranteed.
don't know.
I
So
totally agree.
It sounds like maybe you two haven't gone down this path. But what do you,
You don't do this weird stuff?
Well, no, I don't.
what do you think about it?
But
Could you brute force your identity? Like, if you just said it
So-
over and over again?
Yeah, like I think there's like there's like an intersection between me and some of the woo-woo people in this regard, like the affirmations people, the secret
Oh,
people.
I've never been in the woo-woo camp because I think to you we're woo-woo, but
But
like we have other people who
I
are
think
more
there's like a
woo-woo.
non-woo explanation for this. Like I think the whole universe is built on like laws of like physics and energy. Like one of the main laws of physics is, for every action there's sort of like an equal and opposite reaction. Like when you push on something, you get a pushback. Like so I do think like if you put stuff out there, either mentally or energetically or physically or whatever, like you do get some sort of like pushback.
That's what he's describing.
Yeah, like I think it's totally rational.
That's what he's
I
describing.
don't think it's.
I don't think there's anything woo about it at all.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think you totally can brute force your identity.
It goes right back to like you put it out, you think it, you talk about it, you do it, you put it out. People comment on your abs and your
But
lean
you have
and
to,
your
you have to follow
4.7.
up. You have to follow up. You can't
You
just
do.
like you can't just write it down and then it happens. You have
Right.
to follow up. You gotta,
That's why I think it's better to like do the affirmations in private rather than like verbally do it. At least until you have some kind of momentum, right? Like you already have.
If you're in private though, like I think there is something to actually just really putting it out there in the world, like literally, like verbally to
you're trying to
Becoming
get,
it.
getting leverage on yourself is what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think like when you tell, I think people in the world too are largely looking to react to things and to be guided and stuff. Like if you go out in the world and be like, I am this person, like you will just be that person to them. Like most people are like, okay,
I agree.
yeah, you're that
Nah,
person.
see, like
okay,
I think
cool.
your subconscious is smarter than that, right? So let's say you are someone who's never ran before, and you're like, I am a marathon runner. I am going to run a marathon, and people be like, oh, that's nice, like that's great, good job. Your subconscious realizes that they just repeated back to you, they just mirrored to you. They're like, like I kind of pick up that you're not there yet. Like, and it's not good.
But like another example of this is like confidence, right? Like if you truly go out into the world and like I am a confident person, like if you actually kind of sell that, even if you aren't confident, you get a reaction from people that will be this like feedback loop because they'll sort of treat you as confident and then you will become more confident based on that, and then you create this like
No question.
push and pull thing. Like
Christopher Columbus was a piece of shit with no experience.
Here we go again.
And he wasn't even a sailor. He wasn't even a sailor, guys. Like how many anecdotes do we need?
He's
Hold
been
on.
waiting for 12 months to do this again.
No. Wait, do I have a thing with Christopher Columbus? What do you mean?
I did not know you did.
I didn't know I did.
we did a bit on it.
We did a bit on it.
Oh, we did do a bit on it.
Christopher Columbus went
That was a long time.
But
ago.
across the Atlantic
I feel like
Ocean?
You came home and you were like, I was too pro Christopher Columbus. Like next time,
Well, because that was a really hot take. It was a really hot take.
So you're telling me this guy has no idea how to sail? He went across the
No!
Atlantic Ocean?
He was an amateur sailor at best.
across the Atlantic in a wooden ship.
You just got.
He
Lucky,
had
bro.
great people.
Just
he
got
had
lucky,
great
bro.
experts with him. He recruited incredible people to support his journey. He had money from the Queen. He was not met with like a yes immediately.
He's an entrepreneur. I get it.
He was an entrepreneur. He was an entrepreneur. He was the Elon Musk of his day.
Hired a pilot.
Well,
Elon knows
actually,
physics.
Elon knows a lot. But my point is, like, he was not the best in his field. He was not the preeminent sailor of his day. Elon's a bad example. Put that aside. He was a person who showed up and said to the world, "I value myself to this degree. Meet me there." He asked for more than he, quote unquote, deserved. I'm arguing in favor of your
You're
statement.
saying Columbus manifested. He
He
manifested
didn't.
his
He brute
manifest
forced
destiny.
to Nick's point, and then he played the laws of physics to your point. Like, both things are true. It's not woo-woo. It's like, I ask and I will likely receive. And if I continue to say, "Hey, this is my bar. I need $100 million to go find lands that are undiscovered, and this is the way I think the world looks outside of this continent, and I'm going to go discover these places, and I need these funds, and I need these people." Like, you're going to eventually, like, and you have charm, and you have character, and you have the ability to not manipulate, but to convince and to convey a message and a dream and a vision. You're gonna get that. You're gonna get support eventually.
I think that's absolutely true. Actually, now that I think, like, okay, I think the world.
I'm telling you, it is. That's
This
that's literally his story.
Stephen's
That's
point.
the story of
Stephen's
Christopher
point is
Columbus.
like the world is ready to just like accept your story. Like, all of us largely just don't care. Mostly, like, we don't care. So, like, whatever story
We're
you
too
got,
busy.
like whatever story you got that you want to tell me, like, with enough edifice behind it, fine, I accept. And I think, like, it's kind of like what this podcast is. It's like where we're like talking about things. We're saying that we're like, oh yeah, so we have done these trades, or we've like done these like business ventures or whatever, and people, like, through their own analysis of what we're doing there, it's like, oh yeah, they've probably done it. Yeah, whatever. Like, isn't that what we're talking about?
yeah,
Yeah.
to a certain degree.
But I think
Yeah.
that the story part is the most powerful. Can I read you guys someone's story? And I won't tell you who it is. It's a celebrity, because, like, I don't want.
Christopher Columbus.
Is
No,
it
no.
you? Is it you?
No, I just
Oh,
won't tell
yeah.
you who it is, because I don't want it to, like, taint it. But let me know if you guys think this is a good story.
Taint it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey.
Yo.
Live your life like you're the hero in your own movie. Right now is when the movie starts and your life is a shitbag disaster. Like those guys on the brink, they put their gun in their mouth, then they put it down because they see a photo of their daughter. Pretend that's you. Pretend that right now you're in the part of the movie where it starts and it shows you as a fucking loser. And just decide to not be a loser anymore. Live your life like there's a documentary crew following you around and you are analyzing your own behavior. Do what you want to do so that one day your kids will look back at it and look on it with pride. Like, wow, my dad was a bad motherfucker. He really did what he had to do. So that's
Nicolas Cage.
no,
That's
I'm not-
definitely The Rock.
no, but like that's a story you could tell yourself.
Hold on, I'm so inspired. Like, I'm ready to become George Washington.
Like in the hero's journey, this is like the moment where you like, are okay, I'm not gonna kill myself.
It's pretty gnarly how you, like, if you frame it, like, you can, like, just create the hero's journey arc from wherever you're at.
And everything's upside from there. If you're at the point where that story
That's gnarly.
The greatest part about all of this discussion is realizing that at any moment in time, the entire story can be recreated. Like, your entire future, the concept of the future is the most malleable thing, and that all starts with that identity. Like, you shape the future based on that identity. You could wake up and say that, and your entire future would be completely different.
I think
in
so.
one moment. In one moment. Doesn't require 6 years of therapy.
6 years of therapy helps.
I mean, it does. Therapy's
Speaking
great,
from personal
but
experience.
it is that simple sometimes, and yet that difficult as well. I think the journey of identifying who you are and shaping that to your liking, and carving a story like a Michelangelo-esque story to your liking,
Like the buttocks
Is-
of David.
truly
I had to cut to Steven scoffing at you.
The greatest. It is like the greatest blessing, an opportunity to have that. Like, what a profound idea to be able to have that opportunity to shape your life story, knowing that it could end tomorrow.
What about those types of folks who believe in determinism, who say that you don't you don't shape it; it's already been shaped?
Fuck those
If
people.
you know, in a way, it's like if you want to be that dogmatic, and that's your belief,
Steven, that was your brother, by the way.
that's it. Like that's like I mean, like, look, you get a choice. You want to do something with your life, and you want, like, it's all belief. At the end of the day, it's all a set of beliefs. Like, if you're that deterministic, what's there left to do? I want to enjoy the time I have, conscious and awake on this planet, like regardless of like the physics of it. What do you want? What do you want while you're here? What do you want? What do you want to believe? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want to believe? What do you want to do? How much do you want to shape your destiny? I want to shape my destiny. I think it's a beautiful thing. You know? So Calcium asked a question right back at you, Stephen.
I saw that. I was wondering if
The
we would
chat
do
has
that.
been eerily quiet, by the way, on
Yeah,
this whole.
because
this
it
whole
got
identity
dense.
stuff.
It got
Well,
fucking
I wonder if
Von
it's good
Deeper.
or if it's
I
not
thought this
good.
would be popping off because
No, I think it's
this is the best conversation I think we've ever had.
I think people are thinking, and that's good.
They're
So,
thinking, man.
Stephen, what's one word that describes your identity?
No, Calcium wanted you all to go around and say one word
Well,
that
I'm
describes
starting with
everybody
you.
else.
Armand is posing the question.
How do I just
Yeah,
my
we'll
identity?
all answer it. We'll all answer
I'll
it.
answer mine. I've known this for years.
But because you asked, I'm starting with you.
I think of myself as an achiever.
Okay, I like that.
I see that.
Eric, you said you had an easy one, so
one. Curious.
curious.
Oh,
Ooh,
curious.
yeah, same.
Same.
Okay.
We should have done our Calcium's thing first, though. Now everything's tainted.
I like that. Adventurous,
Can't say the word tainted anymore.
achiever, curious.
My cousin said, agreed. No time to chat. Too much in thought.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
I had a
it's,
feeling.
It's a very deep.
I want to talk about it
discussion.
more again.
Well, you know what? I actually just felt like Armand and I want to talk about more because we're curious.
All right, guys.
So good.
Maybe
so
we should
good.
continue this conversation. Are we going to go out tonight, or are we going to like call
Yes,
it early?
of
Because
course we're going
Well,
Yeah.
according to
tomorrow-
Eric's like
yeah.
rules
I have a
of
protocol.
holidays, there's a protocol here.
This is like a Huberman protocol. If your only agenda tomorrow is to have fun, then you have to have fun tonight too.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I
obviously.
was assuming that like I would get quorum on call it early. You know, big day tomorrow.
no. Eric's
No.
belief is you start now.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
start as early as possible. You bleed the celebration into the previous day.
Yeah, we got to call it. We need to name this rule, but it's just part of the protocol.
Yeah, we need a good Huberman protocol name for it.
Okay.
But it's good.
All right. I want to talk more about that topic we talked about. I don't know. Maybe we'll find a different prompt for it.
I
Because
thoroughly enjoyed that. I hope at least one person out there did. If you did, please leave a review for me.
Yeah, Tyler, I want to
next
know what
week.
your I want to know what your identity is, Tyler, outside of just mouth breather.
wait, did he say that in the chat one day?
Yeah, I haven't forgotten.
Man knows his wines. So I'll tell you that.
He does. He does. All right, guys. This was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We went well past our time, but I think it was worth it.